You guys ever play a game where the tutorial teaches you the basics, how to move, how to attack, how to survive, but then the second you're dropped into the real world, the real game, you realize you have no idea what you're doing? That's kind of what life feels like. School, society, heck, even your parents, they give you a basic rundown, but when it comes to the stuff that really matters, the tutorial didn't prepare you for this. I was recently thinking about this, how I had a conversation with one of my friends, and we were talking about how school in general is so flawed. Obviously, it teaches you things that are useful, but a lot of the stuff it really does not prepare you for. I was having a conversation with someone, an accountant, and I was talking to her about this, and like school literally doesn't even tell you like how to do your taxes. And I think it's funny because we could dive down some rabbit holes, whether that's just left out on purpose, but like you would think that something very important such as filing your taxes, which you have to do every year, it's a federal law, you would think they would teach you, but they rather teach you about some Cherokee Indian that has no relevance to what's going on now, or some war that happened in the 1600s, which, like I said, it's good to learn history, it's good to learn these things, but in general, school really doesn't prepare you for the real world in the way that it should. School teaches you facts, not how to play the game. Think about like when you boot up Call of Duty or you boot up a game, right? You go through the tutorial. Most games, like you learn the controls, but you don't learn the actual strategy. There's a whole YouTube niche around this where people will play certain games and let's say 10 things that this game doesn't tell you. There's a whole niche around it, bro. You can go on YouTube and look it up. There's a whole subset of videos around 10 things that the game doesn't tell you, which, granted, it's impossible for developers to tell you every single thing. However, in most games, man, the tutorials just teaches you what the buttons do. It never tells you the best way to play most of the time. School teaches you math, history, grammar, but not how to manage money, deal with failure, file taxes, or handle relationships. You can memorize all of the rules and still have no idea how to win. And I think what makes it even harder too is life has no objective marker, right? If you're playing, a mission in a Call of Duty, or you're playing a RPG like Skyrim, right? In video games, you always have a main objective, or at the very least, a clear direction of where you should focus on or go. In life, nobody really tells you exactly what to do next, right? No one's really sitting there telling you exactly, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, because at the end of the day, I mean, no one's going to care about you more than you have to care about yourself, especially once you're a full-grown adult. But you're just thrown into the world and expected to figure it out. And this is why so many people feel lost. They're waiting for a mission to appear instead of choosing their own path. And I resonate this a lot because I know for a fact that I have felt lost in life myself. And I know a lot of people that do feel lost. And I think, quite frankly, the reason is because we grew up in a society where we were told to be at this building at 8 or 9 in the morning, put through these classes that teach us, things that don't necessarily equip us for life. And, the bell rings, we get up, we're programmed like that. We go to the next classroom, we sit down, and we do it again. And like I said, guys, I'm not sitting here trying to say that school doesn't have any benefits at all, because, it does make you, it does increase your knowledge. I'm not saying it doesn't. But, back in the day, let's go back hundreds of years, women were generally around like their moms. They were learning, how to plant things, cook, clean, take care of the village, things like that. And men were out in the woods, hunting, fishing, chopping wood. And, it's crazy because, think about this even too. Most guys that are in my generation, or at least the generation younger, to put in perspective, I'm 25 years old. Most guys that are, I would say 25 or under, 18 years old, things like that, a lot of them can't even change a tire, bro. It's crazy to think about, but a lot of us know more about technology. We know more about, AI and, how to work a computer. But when it comes to hands-on activities like chopping wood or, farming and things like that, I'm pretty sure I saw a statistic that the average farmer in the United States is literally 59 years old. So that type of stuff is dying, and there is going to be like a gap there if you think about it. And I do think a lot of that has to do with the modernization of society, schools, and learning. I mean, like I said before, and back in the day, men were outside learning how to hunt fish, chop wood, stuff like that. And women were learning about, planting and, cooking and cleaning, taking care of the village and things like that. And I'm not saying that, modern society is worse or better. I mean, it's up for you guys to decide that. But I think we can look at how the direction society is going and make a pretty good decision on the fact that things do need to change to some extent. I don't think we necessarily have to go all the way back to that, but I also don't think we should completely abandon it. I think a mixture of maybe a blend of more physical activities and physical hands-on learning could benefit society, both men and women. I mean, even look at like gym class. A lot of people think gym class is, just unimportant, which it might be a little unimportant, but back in the 60s, you watch those videos of the guys doing pull-ups and stuff and running, like they were all in shape, right? Like there's just a huge difference of how society functions today than it used to. Like I said before, like the reason why so many people struggle and feel lost is because you're not given a clear direction, and you're also not set up properly to succeed, which, we don't want to have a victim mindset here. I'm like, in this channel, the last thing I'm going to tell you is I'm never going to teach someone to have a victim mindset, but it's important to at least recognize that yes, certain people are not set up to succeed, but it might not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to fix that. And the only way you're going to fix that is to go out there, fail, and try things. Failure is the only way to get better. Think about, like, I'm not a huge proponent of games like Dark Souls. I've heard they're good, but those games are incredibly difficult. But even think about like Call of Duty, right? Like I've beaten all the Call of Duty campaigns on Veteran. The newer ones aren't as difficult, but like the old ones were pretty difficult. I remember playing Call of Duty 2 on Veteran, very hard game. But in games, whether it's Dark Souls, whether it's Call of Duty, whether it's Halo, say you're playing Call of Duty on Veteran, you're only going to learn by trying, adjusting, and trying again. You're only going to learn by reloading that checkpoint 20 times and finally beating it, finally beating that boss, finally sniping that guy, right? You're only going to beat the Easter egg by trying it multiple times or learning the ins and outs of the map, right? In life, we treat failure like it's a game over when it's really just a part of leveling up. So many people are scared of failing, but it's part of the process. Every single video game you have ever played, you level up from failing, dying from enemies, upgrading your skills. But how do you upgrade your skills? You have to go through failure, right? So the tutorial makes things feel safe. School makes things feel safe. But in the real game, struggle is how you actually improve. And when you're out in the real world, when you're out of the tutorial, you have to build your own skill tree, right? Imagine you're playing a game and you unlock abilities over time. In RPGs, you don't start with all the skills. In life, you don't start 40 years old driving the Porsche with a mansion, with a beautiful wife and kids and a happy family and a very pristine, lawn and mulch and landscaping, and your life looks perfect from the outside. You don't start like that, right? You don't start with all the skills. You don't start with all the accolades, all the money, all the status, and all those things, the great job, the great career. You don't start with that. In life, nobody is bad at something forever. If you work at it, you unlock new abilities, new skills, confidence, discipline, and adaptability to those situations. But if you never invest in yourself, if you never invest in that skill tree, if you never invest in your Pick 10 perk system, right, you stay at one level forever. I think at the end of the day, nobody tells you this, but life is like dropping into Warzone, right? Remember when Warzone first came out and it was the biggest thing during like 2020, 2021 era? Think of it like dropping into Warzone. You land with nothing. There's no guaranteed loadout, no clear path to victory. Some players play it safe, they hide in corners, and others take risks, push fights, push engagements, and level up their skills. Yeah, you're going to take some L's, but that's how you get better. That's how you get better at Warzone. That's how you get better in life. The real question is, are you going to camp and wait for life to come at you? Or are you going to push forward and make your own way? I think it's important to realize this, guys, and drop a comment below on your opinions on the school system, because I've had this conversation with many people, and I think that, like I said, it's a mixture of the system not setting us up properly to succeed, but also we have to take accountability, responsibility, and make sure we go out there, struggle, drop into the war zone map, as I like to say, go out there and level up our skills and invest in ourselves, and that's the only way you're going to succeed. If you like this video, consider liking, subscribing, and stay around for more.
Survive to redeploy fallen teammates. Kill to bring them back fast. Enemy soldier incoming.
He's low on the roof. Fuck, no more.
Or something with you.
Hostile UAV in the area. You have reinforcements inbound. Your squad mate is redeploying. Well done.
Where?
You have reinforcements inbound. We're returning you to the front. Earn this.
Oh! One low, one low, one low, one. Two down, two down, two down. That's so chopped, bro.
Squad mate back on track. Marked remaining operators from that squad.
This is crazy.
Hunt them down. Enemy UAV overhead.
How is that?
What was it, bro?
Clear.
Another team on us. Another team on us.
Oh, on the roof, on the roof, on the roof.
Good kill.
How many?
Marking the rest of that squad.
Yeah, I got him.
Attack map. Get hunting. We've got 10 squads active in
Got
the
it.
field.
Pistol located.
Your squad's in the safe zone. You're losing ground. Move it. Friendly loadout drops on the way. Enemy UAV is online.
I want to see you do better.
I wanna be the very best. No one.
Enemy UAV overhead.
Da 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 da. We going that way or no?
Enemy soldier incoming.
Damn, somebody got sniped. What the fuck is he?